Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturgio and Chris Gucci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a Thursday. It is Thursday, March the 23rd, 2023. Wow, 23-23. That'll never happen again. I'm kidding, obviously. No, you don't?
It won't happen again.
Well, obviously, because it's only one. It's today.
So what were you kidding about?
I mean, like that a 23rd of a 23rd year,
okay.
It won't happen again. It'll happen every month, actually. But anyway, yes, to start us off hot there, it's Dave Sturgio. It's Chris Gucci here on a Thursday. A lot to get into today, obviously. We're going to go dancing again, by the way. The NCAA Tournament rolls on tonight. We'll talk about that. Rolls on tonight and tomorrow. And by the fact that we come back here on Monday, we're going to have the Final Four set up. So that's going to be fun to get involved in. But first, we got to start with a little bit of controversy over there in the NBA. Again, nothing about liquid props or anything like that. More or less the games, because we are coming down to the last 8 or 9 games, and the Mavericks are knee-deep in this race. Right now, they're sitting at the 9, which, by the way, if you're a ratings person, the 9 and the 10 right now, if the season ended, the 9-10 play-in game would be the Mavericks and the Lakers. It's like, and LeBron's coming back.
This
so
is
it's like,
why they do it.
This is why they do it. So that one extra game where you're like, ooh, look at that.
Wait, so the Mavericks, everybody was talking like potential
Or is it
title?
Wait, is it?
No, it can't be the Mavericks.
No, it is the Mavericks at the 9, but like, is it the 8 versus the? There's only
It's
one.
the 7 and the 8 against the
And the 9 and the 10.
The 9 and the 10.
So the 7 and the 8 can flip flop if possible. That's why they do it. But the loser of that, there's a whole lot of stuff going on with the NBA, and I'm not about to dive into it. But what I will dive into is the fact that Mark Cuban's got a case here, okay? I don't know if you guys saw the end of the Dallas Mavericks Warriors game last night, but the Warriors do come out of that one, the 127-125 win. And the reason why this is relevant is because, A, I just told you about the Mavericks being right there in the thick of things. But the biggest thing is Mark Cuban is now officially protesting the game. He's going to file a protest. He's got every right to do this. Apparently, there was a play with about $1:54 left in the third quarter. Ball goes out of bounds. Referee immediately signals Warriors ball. So there's no confusion there. I don't understand. But in the timeout and over the PA, which, by the way, the PA position is very important. That's why I was trying out for one spot at a time. But they announced Mavs ball. They weren't, and that's what they're listening for, right? So they set up for the play, the inbound, on their offensive side of the court. And all of a sudden, the Warriors are just hanging back like, well, it's our ball. We're inbounding from the baseline. There's nobody home, and they get a free dunk out of it.
So without having seen the play myself, I'm going to go based on a couple things. One, this is not Mark Cuban's first NBA basketball game that he's witnessed. Nor is it the first NBA game that the coach has ever witnessed, nor is it the first basketball game or NBA game that any of these players on the Mavericks have ever witnessed. So, A, they should know the rules. And then B, when you file a protest with the NBA, what ends up happening? Absolutely nothing. So,
it hasn't been overturned since 2008, where the Miami Heat had to resume and play 51 seconds left of a game.
51 seconds, not a full quarter and a half.
Right.
So for that reason, Mark, I'm out, dog. I'm out.
I like that. The Shark Tank thing.
For that
I like
reason,
that.
Mark, I am out.
What a great line. But anyway, so we'll see what happens there in regards to that verdict, I guess you could say. But
Nothing
he says
is going
he's
to
calling
happen,
it the
but
worst.
It's cool to complain about so you could get in the news a little bit, but nothing will
He
happen.
stood up and he went right to the scorer's table. Mark Cuban did. So, like, Mark
Probably
Cuban
now going
is
to get fined, too.
Oh, 100%. And then Luka made a little bit of a gesture at the end of the game. He's probably going to get fined. So the Mavericks in a bad way overall. Golden State gets the win. That's a big win for them. And as I said, right now, the 7 seed all the way to the 12 spot, which, again, the 12's not in the playoffs, but from the 7 to the 12, one game separates them. One. A couple of them, the Mavericks are a half game out of the 8. You know what I mean? So they're right there in the thick of things. So that'll be very, very, very interesting to see how that plays out. If you're also into the liquid props and you're looking to see the return of one Ja Morant, that happened last night. He comes off the bench, did not start, which, again, is probably a little semantics at this point. He comes off, scores 17. He gets the interview at the end of the game. He seems to be on the up and up, which is good. That's what you root for. You don't want this guy to screw up and keep screwing up. Like, the one thing I will say is this. We, collectively, and most guys our age or older, will refer to these 20, 21, 22, 23, 24-year-olds as kids. We only say that because it's not actual the term. They're not kids.
Bro.
Because Once you turn 18,
just so I could be clear about,
it's game
just
on.
so we could be clear about who I refer to as, like, I'll say, oh, this kid over here, and he's 35 years old. I refer to everybody as.
Right.
I know
Fair.
a kid, so it's just that's how I talk. Sorry, Ja.
But what I'm saying is a lot of these guys, well, from what I've heard, there was a caller this morning.
There's a lot of these young men.
Fine, but there was a caller this morning. Like, you got to stop referring to them as kids. Once you're in the 18, you can join the army. Blah blah blah. I'm like, dude. First of all, totally different circumstance because of the fact that these kids are being thrown millions of dollars and they're surrounding themselves with not the best people. Sometimes.
For that reason, are we ever allowed to call a college player a kid? Because every single one of them is an adult, but we call them kids, and it's kind of accepted because they're still in the amateur ranks. But look, they're all adults. It is what it is. John Morant, you know better. Get back to basketball, bro.
And he will. And he will. I will say that the Timberwolves, just quick tidbit on the Timberwolves, they're in the thick of things with this, within one game or so of striking distance. Last night, for the first time since November, Karl Anthony Towns from
Metuchen?
St. Joe's. St. Joe's, New
I don't know if
Jersey
he grew up in
returns.
Metuchen. Plainfield, maybe.
Well, he went to Metuchen, but no, he went to St. Joe's. Same thing. But anyway, so he returned last night. The Timberwolves get a much-needed win. He scores 22. First game since November. It feels like forever ago since we've seen him. And, of course, my Knicks drop another one to the Heat, 127-120. Don't want to get into it because I'm just – they got to start playing some better basketball because there's not much time left. We understand where your series is going to be played. You're probably going to play the Cavs. I'm not getting into it until it gets there, but they got to put these games away. They got to start winning a couple more for some feel-good, at least some feel-good action heading into the playoffs. But speaking of playoffs, there is a massive playoff, and it's called March Madness, ladies and gentlemen. That is resuming tonight. You there? That's resuming tonight. The Sweet 16 rolls on, and like I said, as you watch tonight's games, Friday night's games, over the weekend, there's gonna be a Final Four set already come Monday morning. So we'll be talking about that and breaking that down of who got there. But first, they got to get there. There's multiple games going on tonight. I believe there's 4 on the docket. Starting with Michigan State, the 7 seed, at Kansas State, the 3 seed. Obviously, interesting story on how Marcus Noel coming off a monster performance Sunday's second-round game against Kentucky. You watched that game. But there's a more interesting story about one of their players that you actually dove into this morning.
Yeah, the Keontae Johnson thing. He was a player for Florida a couple years back. In 2020, he collapsed on the court, and then he was advised by all doctors, et cetera, you should probably not play basketball again. Against all the doctors' wishes and maybe even his family, the guy's back, and he hit a big shot against Kentucky the other day. Great story. So I don't know much about that game in particular, other than the fact that Tom Izzo is always in the Sweet 16, right? So every time you see Michigan State, it doesn't matter what seed they are, how they played in the regular season. If they get in the tournament, they're going to make some noise. But this the Kansas State team.
It's a fun story. Yeah, absolutely. And they're the higher seed. So it's
admittedly, I don't know much about Kansas State. Right?
Yeah.
They're obviously a better team than I gave them credit for, because when I looked at this, I was like, I was expecting Michigan State to be the clear favorite. They're not. They got a good team, though, Kansas State.
Yeah.
Was it Noel?
Yeah, Marcus Noel dropped, 27 points last round. So that is actually the liquid prop that I'm going to play tonight. Right now, his points are set at 18.6. After the 27 that he dropped the other day, he's averaging 17.1. I got a good feeling about this kid tonight. I got a good feeling about Kansas State. Love the story. Let's go. Kansas State.
The guard play out of Kansas State is so good right now, so it's tough to bet against that, but it's Tom Izzo.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Did you hear?
Where am I going? I'm going with K-State.
Did you hear about Rick Pitino?
No.
He's going to coach St. John's. Like, out of nowhere. The guy had a job, a steady job towards the end of his back end of his career, said, I think it was Iona. And he was just like, I'm never going to coach again. This is it. I'm done. Final stop, blah, blah, blah.
I think the guy from Fairleigh Dickinson is now taking the Iona job.
Yes.
And then the Penn State coach is now leaving Penn State and going somewhere else as well.
Coaching shuffle. But Pitino, who said to the world, I'm done coaching because he's 70, right? He's back in action. And now all of a sudden with NIL and everything you have to do, don't you want to play for Rick Pitino before it's all said and done? So St. John's all of a sudden might be a player. And the Big East might be a thing again. So exciting over there on the East Coast.
Is there even a Big East?
Yeah, in basketball there is. So, Arkansas, UConn, tonight, the Razorbacks rolling into this matchup feeling good. They upset the number 1 seed, Kansas Jayhawks, 72-71. Meanwhile, UConn knocked off St. Mary's. They beat the brakes off them, 70-55. So, a good matchup here. The one thing I'm looking at, Tristan Newton over there on the Mojo Market. This guy, he does it all. He's one of those guys that he'll score, rebound, assist, you name it, he's done it. He's got a point line at 11.47, and he's averaging 10.1. So it's, it's risky. The play is risky. But again, I like the UConn story. I like the Razorback story a lot better, actually, because Arkansas, it's funny, the Razorbacks. So I'm trying to think of like guys that I've watched as a kid play over there.
Corliss Williamson.
Wow, now you're dropping names out of the sky. so that
was a national championship team.
Yeah. So I'm all for. I'm with Arkansas right now, but again, I'm more on the Newton point line. I don't know about you, but
he's a senior guard in his potential last game ever. He's going to elevate. He's averaging 10 points a game on the season, so I'm going to go with the over on that because guard play in the tournament, he's going to elevate his play. I think. I know he's kind of the do-it-all kind of guy, but you're going to need to isolate and shoot some baskets.
That's the name of the game, folks. So, hey, listen, the fun story about all of this, obviously some of these teams are powerhouses. Like you said, Tom Izzo at Michigan State, always in the Sweet 16, always there. We're talking about the Florida Atlantic Owls, looking for another upset, trying to get to the Elite Eight. They got Tennessee tonight. Tennessee's John Al Davis is somebody that I'm personally looking at in this one, set at 14.1. He's averaging 13.9, so it's like right there. But again, like you said, this tournament play, I'm a guy that's saying that the stars will come out when it means the most. This guy's been playing all world, so give me all day the over on John L. Davis to score over 14 points. That's just, again, these are things that we've seen just based off the tournament. I'm not going to sit there and say that I've been watching these guys diligently throughout the course of the year. I'm talking about tournament play. I'm talking
this
about
is me right now.
Yeah, I know. He's just like too many numbers. Listen, there's a lot of money to be made on the Mojo Market, specifically in the liquid props, specifically in the the futures, who you think are going to win these games. There's money line bets basically over on Mojo Market, so go check that out as well. The main event, obviously, UCLA, Gonzaga, however anybody wants to pronounce it. When they call them the Zags, that would mean Gonzaga, but I've always considered them Gonzaga, and that's been the Jimmy Morrison days. Jimmy Morrison? That's who played there? I'm trying to think of his name.
Jim Morrison, Adam Morrison. Jim Morrison was from the Doors. But...
Jim Morrison played for the Doors. Adam Morrison played for Gonzaga. So there you go. UCLA looking for its 12th title. They haven't won since 1995. So they feel like my Dallas Cowboys all of a sudden. But my favorite guy in college basketball right now is Drew Timme. He's back. He scored... He's got his points set at 21.69. He's got to take over the game tonight.
Yeah, Drew Timme was like a guaranteed to be a lottery pick last year. I don't know what he did or didn't do for his draft stock, but I have a couple Drew Timme. It was from the National this past year in Atlantic City. I got gold packs from Wildcard, and I got a couple low-numbered 1 of 3.
Drew
and
Timme's?
2 of 3 of Timme. And
Nice.
all I'm missing is the 1. I would have 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3.
So you're about to have 3 of 3 cards made in the world of Drew Timme?
Well, I'm not in on it.
You're not chasing it?
I'm gonna sell the other 2. I'm gonna find who has that 1 and say, hey, do you want these 2?
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, guys, March Madness rolls on tonight. You got 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow. All of a sudden, we'll have the Elite Eight over the weekend, so that's huge. Pay attention to the Mojo Market. Pay attention to all your prop bets and get involved right now. It's time to go dancing once again. So, to some football, ladies and gentlemen. A couple things went down yesterday. First and foremost, this is something that I just want to, this is more important than football right now. Last night, ESPN and a bunch of the football outlets, NFL.com, they all released a report that Foster Moreau of the Raiders was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Cancer. Not a fun thing, obviously. It's a very serious condition, and so he's going to be stepping away from football for a little while. So, obviously, thoughts and prayers over to the Moreau guy.
I hate to take this into the football realm, but do you think that they would have moved on from Waller?
Had they known this?
Had they known?
Probably not.
No. I think that was an understanding that we're going to go with with a lesser contract here because they saved $12 million on the Waller.
Oh yeah, of course. So the big news yesterday happened within the Jets and the Browns. So the Jets went out there and spent a couple bucks. They get Mecole Hardman. Now, he's a burner. My question is, was he on the Rodgers list? No, he was not, right? So they went out and did something. So now, tomorrow, breaking news, Rodgers denies Jets trade because they grabbed Mecole Hardman, and he's not a part of the wish list. But anyway, I like this move for the Jets. I really, really do. Because something that obviously when I focus in on the Cowboys, there was a lot of metrics that showed that the Cowboys lacked separation. They couldn't get open, right? Mecole Hardman is that kind of guy where he became all of a sudden the fastest dude on the field in Kansas City once they shipped Tyreek Hill off to Miami. So now with a burner like Mecole Hardman and a possibility, again, I can't say it's done, but possibility to have Aaron Rodgers just kind of fling it up there. Go get it, kid. I love this move for the Jets. Now, corresponding move, they trade Elijah Moore to the Cleveland Browns, for which, again...
The level of disrespect attached to that move.
Why do you say that?
Because I wanted him. I thought Elijah Moore would be in the package to get Rodgers, so that ship sailed. You better pony up, boys.
Look.
I'm getting pissed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like...
I know it's going to be a
standoff
for a really long time, and I think the Packers are well within their, if the Jets walk up to the podium at 13, I'll stand on this, then it's going to be June 1st. At the minimum. They're going to wait, so it's going to get uglier and uglier and uglier. But
now, again, Mecole Hardman, he can earn up to $6 million this year. He joins Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson. Denzel Mims and Corey Davis are on the last years of their contracts, so it's going to be a battle between those three guys to see who solidifies this core. I don't think they're in on Odell Beckham. I don't see that at all at this point, especially with these two moves. Elijah Moore goes from a potential playing with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers to Deshaun Watson. Not a lateral move, in my opinion. But what I will say is Elijah Moore, he barked and barked and barked last year about wanting to be out, and now he's out. Is this a situation where you're like, you done screwed up now, buddy, because now you're going to Cleveland?
Well, no, because now if I'm looking around at the Cleveland offense, they've had a really good offensive line for quite a while now. I don't know if they're retaining some of these guys or losing some, because that's what happens after a little bit. It could start to deplete. But Amari Cooper is as solid as they get at one. I mean, like, there's better ones, but he's serviceable. You're not hurting yourself there. Now Elijah Moore, if he is what he thought he was last year, and all he needs is an opportunity, then he's going to get that this year in Cleveland, because Nick Chubb, the offensive line play, they got the quarterback that they wanted. Amari Cooper, as I said, I think the pieces are in place for Cleveland to have one of the better offenses in that division outside of the Bengals.
Okay. So obviously, as far as transactions go, that went down yesterday. The Raiders did reach a deal, so maybe there was some writing on the wall with Foster Moreau. They did reach a deal with Austin Hooper yesterday. So that'll be your tight end one. All of a sudden, his stock and his value might be up a little bit, considering the loss of Moreau, who was a great player last year in spots where if Waller was off the field, there was multiple times where I was looking for Moreau on the waiver wire. You know what I mean? Because I always thought he was a good target for a Derek Carr. So now we'll see what happens. Mills re-signed with the Patriots. I don't know if you saw that, but he was on the outs for a little while. I'm very curious. There's an article on ESPN right now, 12 guys that are still kind of waiting to see, and I'm just going to rattle them off for you, or at least offensively. A guy like Teddy Bridgewater, I know this is like crazy to think about where he can go. This possible deal here that they're saying for $5 million for a year is with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Lamar, I know we've been talking about him day in and day out. He's finally gone public with a couple tweets. He put out a tweet yesterday with like a crying emoji, and like the picture was a guy that was covered in mud. He goes, every time my name is brought up, it just gets dragged through the mud, right? Dude, like, first of all, enough. Second of all, if it's over, then it's over. So I want to know, because it's allowed because of this specific franchise tag, I would be very, very curious to know if there's anybody that's tried to negotiate with Lamar right now. Because as of right now, the way I see it, I don't think there's a destination for him all of a sudden. I was very confident on the Atlanta Falcons. I think that's out.
There's going to be a potential that Lamar is like still available.
Is he going to just come like with his tail tucked? Like just like, I guess not.
No, that ship sailed. I don't think I think we're going to see one of the more unique situations in pro sports maybe ever, where we have a star quarterback that's without a team or without a situation that he's willing to play or sign this offer or whatever. He's not going to play under any type of deal that's a 1-year deal.
Well, he's definitely not going to play on the tag. Yeah, right.
He's not playing on the tag. That's ship sailed, right?
Right. Well, I mean, they have till July to extend him, but
yeah, I mean, he said it. He's not. I can't imagine him going.
It seems like they're at the end of the road here for these guys because it's like, and it's crazy how fast this escalated because I truly thought that this was going to be resolved, but now you throw this tag on him. Atlanta don't want him. The Jets are still in on Rodgers. You look around the league and like there was rumblings about the Vikings, but do you really want to go that route?
Sit out a season.
That's crazy to me. I don't think there's any possibility that Lamar sits.
Can they Le'Veon Bell him and say, hey, we're going to transition tag you anyway?
Yeah.
So, like, you have to sit out 2?
Possibly. But that's a lot of money to spend on a guy that's not going to go. You got to pay. If you slap this tag on him, he doesn't play, I still think you got to pay him. Well, how can he just sit on the roster? How can he just sit on the roster?
What are you talking about? If he doesn't play, if he doesn't show up.
Deshaun Watson got paid, and he didn't play a damn game.
Very, very different situation.
So you're telling me that if he doesn't play on the tag and he holds out, there's no money coming in?
Yeah, if you just decide I'm not playing on that.
That's the Ravens' play then. Ball's in their court.
Yeah, but then they don't get any compensation.
And they don't have a quarterback.
And they don't have a quarterback.
They got Tyler Huntley and possibly Teddy Bridgewater. So that's the thing. I mean, just keep your eye on that. This article has Zeke potentially signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We were talking about the Bucs yesterday, of how possibly in NFL.com's mock draft that they potentially get themselves a new quarterback on top of Baker Mayfield, on top of Kyle Trask. If they don't land a quarterback, if you go into the season with Baker Mayfield, you kind of know what you're going in and getting into. So for Zeke and a fan of his, I hate this for him, but at the same time, I know he can't hurt us. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to come back to haunt you. Like, oh, Zeke scores the game-winning touchdown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't see it happening. I think the Bucs are in a free fall.
Most of those situations you could put me in if, like, Zeke is scoring a 1-yard touchdown to end the game. Because he's not going to scamper one in from 20.
Listen, I watched some Zeke highlights the other day. You know, this is the first offseason that Zeke's putting out, like, videos of himself. And the first offseason where I'm like, oh, my God, bro, Zeke's got that pep. And now I'm just like, I mean, I guess he's got some burst. You know what I mean? Like, but now he's not there, and it's very disappointing. It still is. I'm still not over it.
Get him a pro day.
Get him right. Have him treat like Cam Newton. DJ Chark's still out there on the open market. This article's got him penciled in for the Los Angeles Chargers, which, again, you're looking. I know they restructured their deals, both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, to open up some cap space, but one of them is going to be out of there soon. Like, you can't keep both of these guys. Maybe a DJ Chark makes a lot of sense over there.
I don't think that DJ Chark, if they do sign him, it's going to be a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal with an out after one. So he's probably going to be out at the same time as any one of those two if he does go there. Hearsay. I feel like these guys at the back end of it, there's no rush because they already kind of missed the first wave.
The first wave,
now
right.
Let it become available for you. In terms of, you know, the market will kind of get created in the certain aspects. If a receiver goes down on a team, wait a little bit, see how it plays out. But then again, the draft is there, so a lot of teams could fill these gaps in.
Right. So if you're a free agent and it gets to draft time, you might want to second guess your agent because right now that's not a good deal. You did not get a deal.
I mean, sometimes you have to play it that way because there's just no
truth.
You know, you want to create
from everybody that we
value.
talked to, Mike Renner of PFF, the wide receiver class is not as great as what some people once said once upon a time.
Obviously, where it's like if you could manage to put yourself in a position where everybody that was in on a receiver, maybe one team missed out, and now you're just like, well, I'm over here, and you're the best guy available by far. Then maybe. Well,
to me, I think the best guy still by far available for free agency, not so much for trade. Which, by the way, the Cardinals. There's rumors out there that's saying that second round asking price, you're not getting that. So. From what I've read, it looks like more like a trade for a Brandon Cooks, where you're going to get a 5th or a 6th for DeAndre Hopkins.
Cooper type deal,
very
similar to the Cooper deal, where you're getting really just dumping off salary.
And again, the one that's out there that could choose any team is Odell Beckham Jr. We've talked about him at length. The Cowboys went out and made some moves. The Giants went out and made some moves. All of a sudden, you know, it's just not a good situation. The Chiefs are going to give Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney some more opportunities, so I don't see him going there. You didn't have to say a gosh darn word, Odell, about the contract, and now all of a sudden people are just like, oh, There he is. There's Odell. There's the guy that nobody wanted to mess with. But anyway, this possible deal here has him 1 year to the Ravens.
About DJ Chark. And like honestly, that's just this guy's opinion. We're just saying teams that might possibly be interested in that
good
position.
Fits. Yeah.
I could almost he might be 0 for 10 on that list. Maybe Zeke might go to Tampa. But
maybe
Bridgewater to the Ravens.
I mean,
if that's what they're
they're going to need a solve if they.
No.
If they lose Lamar Jackson, what is the solve?
The solve there is that hopefully they're bad enough to get Caleb Williams the next year, because there's no solve there.
That's not a John Harbaugh type team to me.
Well,
it's just not.
It's funny that you say that because it doesn't matter. It's not like John Harbaugh could line up and play quarterback all of a sudden. He doesn't have one.
He cannot.
And maybe Tyler Huntley with the full camp under his belt and getting the working with the ones all off season. I mean, who knows, man? I can't see the Ravens being a competitive team if they don't have Lamar.
We'll see. But you can follow us all along with all this stuff on the Mojo social medias. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Mojo, MOJO. Very, very easy to find us. And, of course, join the Discord, daily conversations and tips and advice and rules and regulations and everything you can find on the Discord. There's a channel for everything under the Mojo Discord. And, of course, we're going to go dancing again tonight. We'll talk about the fallouts of those games tomorrow and obviously preview another 4 games tomorrow. So a loaded show on a Friday about the NCAA Tournament. And, of course, NFL free agency rolls on. The NBA is down to literally the last couple weeks of the regular season, so it's going to get very, very interesting very, very fast. So for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gucci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We'll be back here tomorrow. Enjoy the NCAA Tournament tonight.